Today we're going to talk you through how to mount your fabrication jigs to a tabletop. Today I've got a 2x10 just mounted on a series of sawhorses. I really like this setup for portability. So we're going to start with our live lock set fabrication jig. Depending on the generation of jig you've purchased, there may be a couple different mounting configurations. Long story short, the newer versions are coming with just a single mounting lip on the back side. That's all you really need. So today I'm going to just use that rear mounting lip for this installation. So I'm just going to line it right up on my table, and I'm just going to screw in the 3 machine screws. These are going to be the coarser thread screws provided with your kit. And then the next thing we're going to do, we're going to put in our clamps. Our clamps are not completely necessary. They're one of those things that's a nice to have, not a mandatory to have. One of the biggest things, though, is that you want to make sure that they do not impede your ability to slide your piece of 2x6 into your jig here. So with this system, I'm just going to back this up right up to the edge here, and we're going to just screw in our machine screws. Now, one thing you'll notice when you tighten the screws down, one side of this jig may pop up a little bit. It's not a problem. Just back your screws up to the point where it sets back down. It doesn't have to be perfect. You want a little bit of room for movement with this. All right, and installation for the fabricated lock set jig is exactly the same as the live lock set jig. Once again, just depending on your configuration, you may have 1 or 3 tabs. All you really need is this back tab here. Do the same thing I did with the live lock set jig and just put my 3 machine screws right in the back side here. All right, and the same protocol goes for our clamp. We're just going to screw that outside of the lip here. All right, so to cut your 2x6 consumables to go in your jigs, whether you're doing your fabricated lock set jig or your live lock set jig, you're going to need a 17 3/4 inch piece of 2x6 material. So I'm just going to mark this at 17 3/4. Just going to mark it with my speed square so I get a nice precise cut. You can also set up a saw stop on a chop saw. Makes this job a lot easier, especially if you're doing high repetition training. I'm just going to use a circular saw today. So now we're going to take our 2x6 consumables and slide it right into our live lock set fabrication jig. Push it all the way through so that it contacts the back of the jig. I'm going to lock it down with our clamp. Then you're going to take your 2 7/8 drill bit that's supplied with the kit. This is a Forstner bit. We do recommend a heavier duty drill like the DeWalt XR series that we have here, or a Milwaukee. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drill our main lock set holes through the top here first. Since this is the first time we're using this table configuration, I'm actually going to drill all the way through the table and come out the other side. This will provide a pathway for your chips when you start doing large scale production. If you're doing this on a workbench that you don't want to destroy it, it's not completely necessary. It just makes things a lot easier when you're doing high production units. Next, we're going to swap out our drill bit. For high production situations, you'll probably want to have 2 drills. Now we're going to grab our 1-inch bit that's also included in your kit. That's to drill these throw holes through the side of your jig. Once again, you're going to want to make sure that the lock set portion is already drilled through the top. All right, so for the fabricated lock set jig, the process is very similar to the live lock set jig. You're going to take your 17 3/4 inch piece of 2x6, and we're just going to insert it into our jig till it hits the back wall. I'm going to use my clamp here just to make sure it's nice and locked in there. We're going to use our 1-inch drill bit again to drill these top pilot holes. Once again, we want to drill the top holes first. Once that's done, we're going to leave everything in here and swap our drill over to our 1/2-inch drill bit, also included with your kit. And we're going to drill the holes right through the side here. All right, so to construct your fabricated lock set jig or your simulated lock set jig, you're going to need a couple 2-inch pieces of steel. I've got rebar here. You can also use tube stock or bar stock if that's easier for you to get. And then literally all we're going to do is just insert it into our holes here. And I'm just going to use a hammer. It's going to be relatively tight, especially with the rebar. Okay, and we're going to leave about a 1/2 inch sticking up. And we're going to do the same on this top one. All right. So your jig should look like this. One quick thing is you want to make sure that the piece of metal does not stick into your index points. That is going to be where you thread your simulated door handle through. So you'll just stick that bolt through and thread your door handle in. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is insert our door panel insert receiver. So we're going to come to the center of the door where you would typically have a lock set. And we're just going to set the C-channel portion here right on the door panel. And then I'm just going to make 2 small marks, one at the bottom side of the jig on the outside or bottom. I'm leaving an extra 1/8 inch just to kind of give us a little extra play. It makes inserting this when we actually screw it into the door just a little bit easier. And then I'm going to do the exact opposite on the top. I'm going to give it an extra 1/8 inch, but on the high side. So just a little mark here. This next section is a lot easier with a speed square. So the depth of these jigs is about 5 1/4 inches. So once again, I'm just going to add a little bit to that. I'm going to go 5 1/2 inches. So I'm just going to line this right up with my mark and just make a quick little mark right at 5 1/2. And we're going to do the same thing right at the top, right at 5 1/2, and draw our line. I'm going to use the jig as my straight edge here. So I'm just going to line that up with our 2 lines that we made. And so this section here is what we're going to actually cut out. To do that, we are going to use a circular saw today with a Diablo steel demon blade. I highly recommend these for your metal doors. It makes this whole process a lot easier and your cuts a lot cleaner. If you're on a budget and just want to use a Sawzall, that's perfectly fine as well. So I'm just going to line this up. Make sure you use proper eye protection. I also have a face shield, especially when you're cutting metal doors. It's very important. Protect your eyes. Next, we're going to insert our door panel insert receiver into our cut door. One thing we're going to want to make sure is that there is no overhangs on the latch side of the door, because these can hang up on your door stop or impede the door from closing properly. So just making sure that's nice and flat in there. Because this is a steel skin door, I'm actually going to run self-tapping screws. You're going to want to put a screw for every hole. It'll make this a lot more durable and make the door panel last a lot longer. For long-term applications, or if you're inserting this in a commercial steel door, I recommend using our through bolt setup. Those are also contained in this kit. We'll talk you through how to do those here shortly. But for a self-tapping screw, it's literally as simple as putting it into your 3/8 nut driver and running it right into the door panel. To install your door panel insert receiver with the through bolt configuration, which is recommended for your higher end installations, you're going to need a 1/4 inch drill bit capable of drilling into steel doors. And we're just going to run it through. We're going to use our pilot holes that are drilled in the jig as your guides. And you want to just make sure the drill is as straight up and down as possible. Once we click through the outside of the door, this is a foam filled door, you're going to feel it kind of drop through. And then we're going to start drilling into the bottom, taking care not to drill all the way through our jig on the bottom. If you're worried about doing that, what I recommend is drill one side of your jig first. So drill all the holes on your top, and then flip the door panel over and drill all the holes on the bottom. So that's what we're going to do today, just that initial punch through. And now we're going to flip our door panel over. All right, now we're going to drill the back side, since we've already drilled the front side holes. Next thing we're going to do is through bolt our frame. So these are 1/4 20 bolts, also included with your kit. are these locking nuts. These have a nylon lock washer, so as you use this door over and over and over again, they won't loosen up on you. And we're just going to stick those right through the hole. They should come right out the other side. Sometimes they need some gentle encouragement from a sledgehammer. You'll want to tighten these up with a wrench. You don't need to go crazy tight. Going over tightening these will suck your jig in and make your jig very difficult to remove from the door panel. So the next step in this process is to hang your door panel. You're going to want to make sure that everything is nice and square. This will help you get the longest life out of your consumables, such as your door panel. With that being said, once that's done, you just want to make sure your door is almost all the way closed. That just helps with indexing everything. I like to have one of my lock sets in the door as well, just so I can test everything as I screw it in. I'm now going to take my frame receiver here, and I'm just going to hang it right in my door panel. What I want to do is pull the front edge of this door, the leading edge, the side with the cutout in it, towards me as much as possible. And then I'm just going to close my door, just like so. I just want to make sure everything's nice and straight. My door stop is equally spaced. And then I'm just going to take a screw here and run it right into my frame. And just double check everything looks good, and proceed with putting the rest of the screws in. And that completes our installation. You're ready to breach. All right, so some best practices when putting consumables in your door. You want to make sure that your retention knobs here, these silver four-bladed knobs, are on the opposite side of the door that you'll be breaching from. So if you're doing inward swing breaches, which is what this door is currently set up for, you want to make sure that you have these on the inward swing side of the door. When inserting your multi-method breech insert, you want to make sure that your material holders are matching up with the material holders on your frame insert. So we're just going to slide this in. Since this is typically used on inward swing doors, we're just going to make sure everything indexes. We're going to just bring it up nice and close to our door stop here, and then lock it in with our adjustment knobs, just like so. Then we can insert our 1x2 consumables to dial up the difficulty of your breach. Thank you for purchasing your Breach Pro MBI system. If you have any questions, please consult your user manual or reach out to a member of our team. We're always happy to help. Stay safe out there and happy breaching.